Hello, implementers, and welcome to episode 20 of the Learn to Implement podcast, where I teach you how to beat procrastination, how to manage your perfectionism, and how to execute on some of those great ideas that you have got. But that is really hard when you feel that you are starting at zero. And that's the subject of today. You know, when I work in the online space, I've got things like I've got my YouTube channel, I've got this podcast. I have now created a 5-part email course on how to feel less busy, how to beat busyness. And I've called it Bye Bye Busy. But the problem is that in each of those circumstances, the YouTube channel, the podcast, this podcast, and the email list, and many other things in social media and in other spaces, I'm starting exactly from zero. And that is really, really discouraging. When you have your own you're making a start and you think, well, where do I begin? And it can be really, really disheartening because everybody starts at zero. If you start a YouTube channel, you've got 0 videos, 0 views, 0 subscribers. So it really seems like just this insurmountable mountain. It's really hard. So how do you keep pushing on when you are literally starting with nothing, when you're starting at zero? And now you can apply this to different projects that you have, whether they are professional projects, personal ones. It's really, really difficult. So how do you get past that zero? Well, yes, you can tell yourself that a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. But I think that there are a couple of better ways that you can do this. The first one is to understand really, really clearly what is it that you want to achieve. And what is the point of this, in my case, this podcast, or the email list, or the YouTube channel, or some other project? I'm very much in the software space, so sometimes I'm going to be installing some new app and implementing that and setting that up and learning it, and it's a lot of work. So the first thing is to keep in mind, what is that big win, that big goal that you're going to achieve. So you can do it in reverse. You can look at some pain, some particular problem that you have, some frustration that you are dealing with and that you can control, and you can say, well, this pain is just too great for me. It's going to be worth pushing through that pain so that I don't have to face that all the time, every time I have to do this thing again. So that's one thing, is to keep in mind the big goal. Now, some people are very, very goal motivated, goal oriented, and I'm not like that. Some people just are very competitive with themselves, and I wake up every morning and I want to be a better version of myself than I was yesterday. Yeah, okay, maybe I've got that in a very broad way, but I find that is not the case. That's not enough motivation. So if that big goal is just too big, then the one thing that you can do is tie it in to who you are. So here's the example. Let's say that I am thinking of writing a book. Okay, so instead of saying I've got to write a book, I have to write a chapter, I have to write 1,000 words a day, instead of thinking like that, start with what is it that I'm trying to achieve here, and think of yourself as a writer. I am a writer. I am an author. Now, if I am an author, what would an author achieve? What would an author do? What processes would an author follow? Because that's my identity. It's not I'm trying to be, but that's who I am, even if you're not there yet. Now, the second thing to think of, apart from keeping in mind that big goal, is that you are not really starting at zero with anything. You are already bringing to the table so much experience, so much that you have already done in your work life, in your life in general. And so you are never starting at zero. You are bringing certain experiences, you are bringing skills that you can transfer from a different environment. So, for example, with me, this podcast, I am talking one-on-one, so it's not an interview podcast, and I'm doing it without any notes. How did I get to be able to do that? Well, I don't have any experience on the stage or in radio or things like that, but I do have experience recording my voice for a YouTube channel to teach people things. Now, that's not exactly the same. It's usually something is on the screen that I'm showing people how to do, something technical, because that's the nature of my YouTube channel. And so the focus isn't so much on me, on the camera, but because I'm very focused on who it is that I'm teaching and what is the win that they are going to get, then this feels more like a conversation and more like a teaching exercise and less of a monologue. It's more of a dialogue. And so transferring that YouTube experience through to a podcast becomes a lot easier. So too with writing. If you are already writing emails, maybe not in an email list, but you're writing emails to somebody and they're not just transactional emails, then perhaps you could translate that experience to a writing situation where you are planning on writing a book or an email list or something else. So you're never starting at zero. You're bringing a wealth of experience, a new perspective, a new angle. And so even if there are topics that you are going to be talking about, for example, and it's already been done before, you can still do it because some people are going to like your approach, your examples, maybe your accent, maybe your emphasis. Some people are going to like that. So you're never starting at zero. And then the third thing, and this was a really, really big motivation for me, is to set little milestones along the way. Once again, go back to my YouTube channel example. When I first posted videos, I got no views, like 0 views, except for myself viewing the thing. What am I doing wrong? But instead of asking that, I say, what have I achieved? Well, I have learned how to record a video. I've learned how to do a little bit of editing and to get it up onto YouTube. That's a big win. I have now learned that process. And so next time I have to do it, that's something that I don't have to be so stressed about because I've done that before. Yeah, I didn't get the result that I wanted, but I did achieve a certain milestone. And so getting into that mindset is really, really important. Now, that's what I wanted to speak about today for starting from zero. But I do want to tell you one other thing, which is that my email list, my email course, it has now been launched. It's a free course, a 5-part course. And unlike most other email courses, it's not just informational. It's actually got worksheets, small worksheets, but to help you imbibe the lessons. And so if you want to learn how to be less busy, how to feel less busy, how to say bye-bye to that busy work, that clutter that is just overwhelming you, then click on the link in the description here to this podcast and you will get the first lesson in your inbox in the next few minutes. Sound good? So check on the link below. Thanks for listening or watching, and we'll see you next time.